Hi there, and thank you for tuning into our video. My name is Hope Dorman, and I'm a member of the industry marketing team here at House. Today, we have a special guest with us, and we'll be discussing some highlights from the 2019 Building Show in Toronto. Today, we are very lucky to have Erin Carlisle with us. She is one of our House editors and has contributed hundreds of articles in her almost 4 years of writing for House. We're excited to hear what she has to say about what was new and trending at the Building Show. Erin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Hope.
So, in today's interview, we are going to cover three main themes, starting with a general recap of the show, then talking about the new trends emerging from the show, and wrapping up with Erin's thoughts on the new products featured. So, to kick off our discussion, Erin, I think our audience would love to know what was popular at the show. The expo hall at the Building Show has so much to offer, and thousands of attendees go to the show. So, from Construct Canada to Home Builder and Renovator Expo to Buildings Connect, and there was even more. Did you notice folks gravitate and be excited about particular aspects of the show?
Sure, I'd love to share about this. But first, I want to make clear that it was actually this really fantastic contributor to House, Barbara Milner, and she's an interior designer and owner of South Hill Interiors in Toronto. She was the one attending the show representing House. And she also reported on IDS in Vancouver earlier this year. She does a really great job spotting trends and themes. So I spoke with her after she attended the building show to get her take. It's a really large show, and the people and booths are spread out quite a bit. And the show tends to attract people in the building profession. So there's architects there, contractors, and also design pros like Barbara who want to stay up on the latest products and trends. And the attendance was good, and the booths were generally pretty busy. That said, there were a couple booths that stood out, and one of them was the Claridge booth. Actually, that one was so crowded on the first day that Barbara had to come back the following day to be first in line to speak with them. She couldn't make her way in on the first day of the show. And their product was interesting. It's a combination of what she called hi-fi and lo-fi technology. So it's essentially a porcelain board for projecting movies and TV, and it also doubles as a whiteboard or a marker board. And what's cool about it is you can use it like as a message center for your family, a writing wall, and then you can just wipe it off and do a whole Netflix night. The other cool thing about this product is that it actually gets rid of permanent marker. So Barbara said they did a demo for her. So if the kids write on the wall and they're using a Sharpie, you can just write over it with a dry erase marker, then wipe that and it comes right off. In terms of what else got attention at the show beyond that, Barbara mentioned that people were really drawn to the exhibits that were very tactile with things that you could touch. And some of the booths at the show tended to have more just videos and marketing materials only. But one of the more tactile booths that stood out to her was from US Formliner, and that exhibitor was displaying concrete forms that were in natural shapes. For example, faux wood, maybe a bamboo texture, branches, and this concrete can be used as exterior cladding. So she visited the booth, and the visitors to that booth could actually touch the concrete forms. And on top of that, the exhibitor had people demonstrating how they could be painted, which was one of the few live demonstrations at the show. And they were making faux wood treatments, painting them right there on the concrete forms. And she said the treatment was really realistic.
Okay, so it sounds like there were a lot of neat products at the show to get us started. And why do you think those areas or those booths were really popular with the attendees?
Well, I think that her take is that just as humans, we like to get up close and see things and touch them, and those booths offer that opportunity.
That definitely makes sense and is a huge part of why people make the time to attend these trade shows. And of course, another reason that trade show attendees go is in part because of the wide variety of seminars or the continuing education units available. So, can you share a high level overview of the takeaways that Barbara gathered from the session she attended?
Sure, definitely. Barbara attended a kitchen and bathroom trends seminar, and that was put on by Todd Valikas of Schluter Systems. And that seminar had a lot of interesting tidbits. We did notice that a lot of the trends that they're seeing and remarking on are also what we're seeing on House and also what we're hearing about from the pros in our community. One thing that stood out was a mention in that seminar of the designer kitchen, meaning the average consumer these days is looking at their kitchen not just from a practical standpoint, but also from a very design forward perspective. And that looks to continue. Another trend from that seminar was personalized and spa-like bathrooms, which again is exactly what we've been seeing in our own research at House, the bathroom as a spa-like, relaxing, peaceful destination. A recent bathroom trends study talked about that. But to the seminar, something else they touched on in that seminar was our aging population, and that a lot of people are modifying their homes to allow for aging in place rather than moving into retirement homes or selling their places and moving. So products like impact resistant flooring will be in demand. Curbless showers look to be another big trend. Anything that can support aging in place. In terms of finishes, this seminar suggested that texture is the new color when it comes to tile. So seeing tiles with a relief or a raised surface rather than tiles with lots of color. And another trend is using big slabs of natural stone like art. So, for example, backlit onyx that has beautiful colors. Another big emphasis is energy efficiency. So, yeah, the kitchen and bathroom trends was full of all sorts of things. She was also able to go to an interesting seminar on the house of the future. And this one had a few different experts, and they were all weighing in on what they predicted. And what Barbara said was that everyone was pretty much saying that technology in the smart home is the future. Our homes will be talking to us, and we will be talking to our homes. They weren't even suggesting it like it were a possibility. They were saying this is happening. So a lot of confidence there in that seminar. And one of the things that came out of that seminar, and that might be a bit controversial, is a way to get at a more sustainable home, um, is actually to get rid of the windows. Those big, beautiful modern walls of glass that we see so commonly that are just gorgeous elements of home. Well, those can lose a lot of heat. And so the panel was talking about that. And Barbara was really thinking that letting go of windows might be a tough sell for this generation. It might be future generations willing to do that. Um, but that issue raises an interesting perspective that came up in the seminar, which is that with the increase in technology in the homes and potentially a loss of windows to help with energy efficiency, it's even more important to bring in organic textures, natural elements into the home, and how connecting with nature is going to be more and more critical because as we are more and more technology focused, we need that balance at home. The third seminar that she attended was on the color of the year, and that one in particular was put on by PPG Paints. And as you're probably aware, Chinese porcelain is the pick for their color of the year, and that is a kind of an inky cobalt blue. And what's interesting is that, as we all know, Pantone picked classic blue, and that panel on color of the year involved a lot of discussion about the color blue and why it was that this was a trend for some of the colors of the year picks from the various companies. And for one thing, it's blue is a favorite color of a lot of people. I think if you survey any group, that color will come up. But also, it represents trust and stability. It's a calm color, and as we have unstable times these days, that is something that appeals to a lot of people.
Those three sound quite interesting, a lot of different varieties, so I'm glad you got to experience those. And it does sound like pros can get an understanding of what's trending now and what they can expect to see more of in the future. So, continuing our discussion about trends, let's hone in on some more specific things that might have been present at the show. We know that being up to date on the latest trends is super important, especially for our designers. So, I'd like to know what sort of shape trends did Barbara notice at the show, if any?
I asked her about that, and she said it wasn't really that kind of show. It was more a builders focused show. That being said, there were of course shapes at this show, and she did notice hexagons and also some 3D forms. Again, not the prevailing theme, but they appeared. And she saw an interesting hexagon treatment made of concrete for exterior cladding, and it was a 3D hexagon, not just flat, but a raised surface. And she saw some 3D fluted tiles coming from Sarah Gray. So yeah, I mean a few things, but yeah, it wasn't really a shapes kind of show.
Definitely makes sense, but interesting to hear that hexagons were at least maybe a recurring shape that she saw multiple times. So,
Mhm.
next, let's talk about color. Was anything present there?
I think same with color. This wasn't really a show for the beautiful booths like you might see it the kitchen and bath industry show in Las Vegas or Maison and Objet in Paris. It was more builder focused.
Totally understand. And since this show did not have many specific visual trends, let's go ahead and talk more broadly. I'm wondering maybe what sort of trends were pertaining to building materials.
Yes, that was this kind of show, and Barbara noticed a lot of building materials at the show that mimic nature. Um, she noticed you can get, for example, wood plank look in just about any type of cladding, from concrete to stucco or even aluminum. And she thought that that was a good thing. Nobody really enjoys the maintenance of wood, so having a different material with a look of wood can be a really great solution for homeowners.
And that echoes some of the house research reports, like the bathroom trends and the kitchen trend studies. And those are showing us that wood look flooring is on the rise, but via engineered flooring or luxury vinyl flooring rather than the actual hardwood. And so now that we are near the end of the year, it's especially pertinent to ask, how do these trends from the building show differ from what was popular on House earlier this year?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that it's an even greater emphasis on sustainability than we saw earlier this year. We know that this is something that pros are interested in learning about, and we've actually been seeing an emphasis on sustainability at trade shows internationally this year. So it really is an ongoing trend. It's also interesting to see the next generation of smart home technology. This was something big at IBS and KBIS earlier this year, and it's also something we're noticing in our house research. For example, our 2019 U.S. House Kitchen Trends study is let us know earlier this year that there's an uptick in the adoption of smart technology for the home. Among the group of homeowners who upgrade their electronics as part of their kitchen renovations, and that's 11% who do that, of that group, 31% added home assistants like Alexa or Google Home, compared with 23% the year before. So that's pretty fast growth. And I'm really interested to see what our next kitchen trends study, which is going to come out in January 2020, what that shows us about smart tech adoption.
It seems that these trends involve more about the way we live rather than just the way that our homes look.
Completely.
So, given your unique perspective as a house editor, I wanted to ask, have you already seen elements of these trends in any completed projects featured on House, or do you think that we might see them more in future projects?
Well, I think the answer to that is a little bit of both. We definitely have seen some of the elements Barbara picked up on from the show in photos on House. One example is backlit stone. We have seen backlit, beautiful pieces of onyx used as decorative accents or even art pieces in spaces that have been uploaded to House. We've also seen some textured tile or 3D tiles in projects on House, but I would say that those are a smaller slice of projects. I would expect to see more of that going forward. We've definitely been seeing texture on tiles and finishes, and we've seen a lot of hand painted, hand glazed tiles that have an artisan look and an interesting varied color to them. I think one thing that will be interesting to track is whether natural stone resurges and takes over man made materials in kitchens and baths. Barbara did see some natural stone at the show, and we know from our recent bathroom trends study that natural stone, so that would be things like marble, granite, travertine, slate, quartzite, onyx, limestone, all of those natural stones as flooring outside the shower has actually been on the decline for bathroom remodels, while vinyl or resilient flooring and engineered wood has actually been on the rise. And the story is similar for kitchen countertops. Our latest research shows that engineered quartz has been on the rise and actually outpaced natural stone this year. But we'll see if that continues after the press this year about the health risks and dangers to workers who handle engineered quartz and under not proper circumstances. There's been a lot of terrible stories about that. And so our next kitchen trend study comes out in January. So that will be interesting to see, if we start to seeing any shifts.
Definitely always shows that what is old is new again. Things come in and things come out, especially as we hear about these things like these health concerns from using certain materials as new data, new science is done. And so, given that this was a builder show, let's now spend some time talking about the products at the show. What new products or innovations did Barbara see that could be interesting for pros to incorporate in projects going into 2020?
Well, there were a lot of amazing products at the show. I think one of the most innovative was from a company called Just Biofiber, and it's an interlocking hemp block building system. So it's essentially like a big Lego, and you can use it in any way that you could use concrete blocks. What's really cool about it is that it actually has a negative carbon footprint, which means that it absorbs more carbon dioxide than it takes to create a block. And these hemp blocks also have a high insulating value, which can help homeowners save on energy costs. Another cool and also sustainable product was Natural Power Ceramite paint. And this paint is made from ceramite, which is a fine white mica, and water. And the paint comes in a range of pastel colors and it has the zero VOC label that a lot of health conscious consumers tend to look for. What's really interesting about this product and what some listeners and viewers of this webinar might not know is that zero VOC or no VOC paints can actually have some VOCs, which are volatile organic compounds. They are allowed to have as much as 5 grams per liter. So this paint qualifies for that label, but the quantity of VOC in the paint is actually far lower. It's 3/100ths of a gram per liter rather than the 5 grams per liter that's allowable under this label. So that's a really great development. Other products, as I mentioned, smart home continues to be a focus. But as we're getting all the smart home technology, nobody really wants to have 25 apps on their phone so that they can manage their systems. And there was a Canadian company based in Victoria, BC, that it's called Reliable Controls, and they showed off a system. It's a building automation system that merges security and building controls all into one system, all managed by just one smartphone app. And so the system monitors the activity in a building and it adjusts controls like heating and cooling accordingly. And it can also integrate lighting, the irrigation you have for your lawns, motorized blinds that can be signaled to close when the sun is too hot and it's heating your home. So just a unified solution for smart home tech in terms of the building controls and the security system, which is a great development. And again, I think I mentioned this earlier that as smart home gains momentum, we're going to need to be connected through with nature through design, just to help us stay grounded as humans, right? So Barbara noted, and we saw a lot of return to natural materials as part of the show, either the look of natural materials in a different man-made form, a man-made material, or actually using natural materials in the home. So one example that bridges this is came from the company Forms and Surfaces. It's their Berman glass line. So of course it's glass, but it has the look of wood, and it's cast glass and can be used for wall partitions, railings, decorative surfaces. So again, you can get the look of wood without the maintenance of wood. Another natural material that was on display was from Muskoka Rock Company. It's Canadian Shield Granite, and that was getting a lot of attention at the show. And it's from Canada and is a look that's reminiscent of flagstone. It can be used indoors. It's just a really beautiful product. And then in terms of man-made, there was a really great impact-resistant vinyl flooring, and the product is Terralay Impression Comfort Vinyl Flooring. So the idea with this product is that if you fall on it, it's soft and you don't get hurt. And it's been used in daycares and hospitals, not so much in residential, but it has beautiful design, so it could be good in residential. And some architects have already spec'd it for kids' rooms. It's really not very pricey. It's $3 or $4 a square foot. And since it's vinyl, it's super easy to wash. So that could be a really great solution for, maybe a baby learning to walk, maybe in a nursery, or also for aging in place.
Definitely sounds like the trends and products connecting to nature. They remind me of how I spoke with House contributor Becky Harris about the Greenville Trade Show in November. And she highlighted products made of eco friendly materials and that sort of thing, but also a living moss wall type product and garnered a lot of attention at that show. And so ultimately, I just think we can expect to see products like this, the nature themed trends, gaining popularity in response to the rise of tech, as you mentioned, in the coming years. And then, in connection to nature and the environment, we know that a movement that is becoming even more prevalent in home renovation and design is sustainability. I know we touched on that a bit here, but I'm wondering if you can share if sustainability factored into the other products on display at the show.
Definitely, absolutely. anything and everything that could be touted as sustainable was, according to Barbara. She said everyone was saying they were eco this or sustainable that, or if they were lead, they were presenting that. And the point really is, it does seem to appear that in order to survive moving forward as a product manufacturer, sustainability really needs to be built into your business model.
And hopefully, we'll see that these products are truly eco friendly and sustainable rather than just using the term as a marketing buzzword.
Exactly.
And so I think that covers everything on our agenda. So, Erin, before we wrap up, do you have any other concluding thoughts about the show that you'd like to share with the audience?
It's an exciting time in building and design. In particular, there's a lot happening on the sustainability front, and we'll just continue to track that and report on it here at House.
Absolutely. We love to be the place where homeowners and pros can come to learn more about what's going on in the industry. So that sounds like a really great note to end on. So, Erin, thank you so much for sharing Barbara's experience at the show. So many incredible trade shows around the country. I know that pros just can't make them all. So, this is great to give sort of a firsthand look at what was going on for anyone who wasn't able to make it.
Well, I'm so happy to do this. Thanks again, Hope, for setting it up. And Barbara from South Hill Interiors, thanks to you for spotting so many interesting products and trends at the show.
And for our audience, thank you for tuning in, and we hope to meet you at a future trade show.